I'm Colby. I'm the editor of After Dinner Conversation, a short story fiction literary magazine. Um, I did this, presented last year about how to do literary magazines, how to make them, what the market is, and all that. I did a presentation yesterday on it. What I got for the last year was a bunch of emails from people saying, like, but how do you do it? I want, like, what buttons do I press? How do I do it? And I was like, it's really simple. And they're like, okay, so how do you do it? And so this year I challenged myself to try and make an entire literary magazine in 1 hour. I'm going to record my screen as I do it, and I'll talk through what I'm doing the whole way. I think I'll finish, but it's going to be tight. So
Why don't you cut it down to 50 pages?
I'm going to do the. I'm going to do the thing. We're going to see how it goes, and I am going to record it as well. And then I'm of course happy to hang out afterwards to answer questions or anything else as well. If nothing else, it'll be something. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm going to record myself and share my screen here.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, I think we got that. Okay, so all right, so I think we're all good here. All right, so I'm going to walk through this and we're going to see how this goes. Also, I do have my handout here. If you're watching this online, it'll be a PDF you can download with links. All right, so let's say it's a new month and I need to make a new literary magazine. So I'm going to go into I'm just going to talk as I go through this, kind of the same way Bob Ross did. I'm going to go into my my folder where I've got my magazine. And normally what I would do is so let's say I'm making the July magazine. Normally I would sort of copy and paste a duplicate of my entire folder, like the whole thing, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. And you're right. And so I would create a July folder, right? And I would just rename the folder, and now I've got the new one. So I created this for Fan Fusion. So I have a Fan Fusion one. So everything here, you see it says June. That's because I literally just would have copy and pasted it over. So the first step is I've got to make my base one that I'm going to make an ebook out of. Some of this stuff, again, is from June, so I don't need it. So I'm going to delete it. I also don't need the paperback versions yet. I'm going to have to create those from scratch. So I have my June one, and I am going to just be lazy here and make it my July one. One of the things I've learned the hard way is to save old versions and to use a naming convention. So I'll start off with the date, and then as I have new versions, I'll do like A, B, C, D. And the reason I do that is because invariably at some point you will change something and not know how to change it back. And so this way I can revert to an earlier saved version if I make a mistake. So going to open it up. This is my last month's version, but I don't need most of this. So I certainly don't need my cover art. So I'm going to start off with deleting that. Obviously, it's not June, it is July. It is no longer the 6th month, it's the 7th month. Can we, ask questions? I would say hold the questions to the end, because this is going to be a really tight go. Unless it's something you're just like, I'm totally confused what you're doing. All right, so I've got the first page here changed. My people are all the same. I don't need to change any of that. Obviously, this part is going to have to change. I'm going to need a new from the editor. I pre-typed that because I thought, if I sit here and just type, that's going to be boring. So I pre-typed my from the editor, but normally I really would just type this right in here. And so I'm just going to copy and paste that in. There we go. So now I've got my new from the editor, and my little intro part is done. Next step is I've got a whole bunch of stories here that I've got to swap out. So we get submissions, just like everyone. We get about 1,500 to 2,000 submissions a month. And readers go through and get those submissions. We eventually find them and we decide we like them, and we send them contracts and send them an offer. Once they've accepted the offer, I say, send it to me as a Word document so I don't have to retype it. God forbid I get it as a PDF. And so then I put it in a little source stories folder here. And so here are my stories for this month. I've got 6 new stories and 1 old one. The first one is Gray Lines. And here it is. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. In this case, I don't have, oh, that's not going to work. This is what I mean about like, you have to be really careful about formatting issues. Gray lines, we'll just retype it. I've got an author's name. You'll notice the author didn't think to be kind enough to put his name on his article that he sent me. So I'll have to go dig that up in the email or in whatever discussion I've had with this person who didn't think that that would be useful information for me to have on his article. It's not even on the title of it. No, he didn't even put it on the title of his article. So I'm going to copy and paste this in. I may, depending on time, I may do some, but not all of these as a switch instead of doing all 7. I don't know. We're going to keep an eye out on how time is. You know, kind of like a cooking show, right? Where they cut 1 onion and then they cut to a bowl of several cut onions. Okay, so I'm going to put this in and I'm going to merge the formatting because I don't want to have to go through and fix a bunch of stuff. So now if I check this, I can see it ends in the phrase romanticized his actions. So I'm going to get rid of this last paragraph. And let's go up and check if I got the first paragraph right, or if I also managed to mess that up. Seated across the warm wooden porch. Okay, I got that right. And it looks like I kept the formatting. Everything looks okay. I'm going to click on this little icon here that says show hide, and you can actually see the formatting a little bit better. Sometimes you'll get authors who put in all sorts of random stuff you wouldn't expect. Like you'll certainly see authors who don't know how to use a tab button, and they'll just hit enter 5 times. And so when you look at that, what you'll see is instead of doing it this way, they'll do this. Right. And if you're looking at it here, it looks the same, but it's not. And once you convert that to an ebook, the ebook will eat that up and it'll look horrible. So sometimes the show and the hides really do help. Each of our stories come with discussion questions, which I write. I didn't want you to just sit here, wait while I wrote out those discussion questions. So I pre-wrote them before we got here. So here is the discussion questions that I already wrote about this story that we're working on. And I'll do the same thing. I'm going to just copy and paste them in here. Of course, I could have just typed them right in. All right, so I already messed up my formatting. So let me fix my formatting. There we go. I'm doing this in Word. I'm literally doing this in Word. Yeah, people will often use InDesign, but I'm using Word. It's a great question. The other thing, if you want to cheat this, you'll notice I've kind of moved the tabs here. One of the most useful things in Word is actually paint. It's called format painting. And you can literally pick something and then paint the format to another section. And then you're never trying to match stuff up. So you pick the area you want and then you, which is also what you do, but sometimes it still doesn't match up. Sometimes it doesn't. It should. It absolutely should. And sometimes it does not. So our next one here looks like it is One More Day, but of course that's not the correct story anymore. Now the correct story is, here we go. Let's see what else we got submitted that we are doing. Source material, nope, here we go. Source stories. It's called SAT apparently. Oh, this person was nice enough to put their name in. Okay, so it's SAT. Let me change the name of this. And the author's name is John Oakes. I also, as you said, I could copy this and paste it in here, and that would work just as well. Probably also is a more useful way because I'm not getting the issues of incorrectly typing it and not realizing it. All right, so he's given me some crazy formatting here. but we'll see what we can do with it. I'm going to copy this. I'll scroll down again to the bottom. This one's shorter. And paste it in. But just like you mentioned, there are several different ways you can paste things. And it'll preview it. So if I right mouse click here, it'll give me all these different ways that it formats, right? And so I can do a merge formatting, which is the one that's probably going to be the most useful for me, because that way it'll change his formatting into my formatting of what I'm pasting over the top of. But I could also do keep original text or do it as a whole bunch of other things. But you'll notice even though I did that, it still didn't work. Absolutely right. There's a million things that authors do that break this system. So, okay, this one ends in them in the sky. I'm just making sure I've got that right. Them in the sky. And then up top here, what's our first paragraph? This is a longer one. Here we go. I think pain. I think that's correct, but let me just check. Nope, it starts with blinking up. All right, so apparently I didn't quite get that one right either. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to fix this and see what they did. This just looks weird. So I'm just going to, now that looks weirder. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that like that for now. But it looks like what they're doing here is they're putting name tags in their story. And then sometimes you can see when I show the formatting, they've done something weird here as well. So I've got to delete some of what they're doing, which is why I'm getting the double tabs. I am doing it in Word. Keep watching. I don't import it into InDesign. You're watching the magazine get built. Yep. Nope. You're asking the right questions. You're just a little ahead of me right now. That I don't want like that, but I'll fix that in a bit. Let me just make sure I've got some of these correct. All right, so I've got this one, but let me get my discussion questions as well, since we know that I pre-wrote those. There we go. And again, I'm going to fix my margin here since it broke my margin. Move that over. And when you're doing this for the first time, it's fully appropriate that you will make mistakes. Like you'll like, oh, I'll just do this thing that I saw Colby do. And then you'll do it and it's like, well, that didn't do the thing that Colby did. Because maybe you didn't grab it. I'll give you an example where that comes up a lot. So let's say I highlight this and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to move this. Well, wait a minute. When Colby moved it, it moved both of them. That's because I was grabbing the little one on the bottom. When you grab the little one on the bottom, it does move both of them. If you grab the arrow thing at the top, it only moves one. There's a lot of weird stuff like that that you just have to learn over time. All right, so that's number two. I think I'll do one more. I'm going to save this because first rule of anything is save often. I'm going to do one more and we'll just leave it at 3 and we'll leave the other ones like they are. Because from an example standpoint, you've got a pretty good sense now of what I'm doing. Oh, this one's going to be a mess. Okay, so this person didn't even put their name on their story, but I can see from the title it's called A Story to Die For. I'm going to make myself a note to go back and find that person's name because they didn't include their name. And let me just go ahead and select all this again. All right. And find the end of my third story. We do 7 short stories in each magazine. There we go. You'll notice I leave one paragraph at the end. And the reason I do that for my copy and paste is because I found when I do it with the very last paragraph, it sometimes pulls in the centering of these 3 dots. Merge formatting. Okay, got that. So I'm going to pull out the last paragraph again. So it ends in a wrathful fury. There we go. Delete that one. I do section breaks, and I will show you those in just a sec because those are really important for the headers and the footers that we're going to see later. If you didn't have the section breaks, you'd have trouble with your headers and footers. But let me just get this fixed. Okay, so now we've got whatever mess this person's doing. These don't look like page numbers. These look like they're sort of like chapter headings or section headings. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do with those. But in the short term, I think I'm just going to shorten these up. And the reason I'm shortening these up like this is for a pretty straight reason. And that, did he have everything in italics? No. See, this is the problem when you do this, is somehow or another, it added italics to absolutely everything in the copy and paste process. So I'm going to back this up and see if I can figure out what happened. So here's my full thing. I bet I know what happened. I bet it's because the first sentence was in italics. But let's just take a look. Okay, so I'm going to do this again just to see what I did wrong. All right, so I'm starting from the second from last paragraph. Otherwise, it would make everything centered. And I'm going to go up here. And I bet I know when I look at this what the issue was. Yeah, it's because I copy and pasted to here, and this was in italics. So it applied italics to the entire document. So I'm going to actually copy and paste it to here, where it's a little bit more normal formatting. There we go. And now we do have normal formatting. And we already learned that it ends in wrathful fury. So we're going to end it there. Let's go up and fetch the top to make sure that it looks correct. This is certainly work you can outsource if you're just like, I don't want to do it. That's fine. There are people that will take your money. But the point is, you don't have to give them your money. And you don't even really have to have a great deal of technical skill to do what I'm doing right now. So one of the things you'll see I'm doing is I'm removing some of these spaces between the things that he did. The reason I'm doing that is because ebooks don't like spaces. And the reason ebooks don't like spaces is because you might be reading this on your phone, on your tablet, on your Kindle, on anything. And so the page breaks will always be in different places. And so that really frustrates ebooks. And so what ebooks do is if they see that there are extra spaces between sentences or between words, the ebook will automatically delete those spaces anyway. So those spaces become absolutely irrelevant for the reader because they don't exist anymore once the reader gets a hold of it. Huh? Yeah, so I'm just going to repeat it so people can hear. The idea of putting in page breaks. So you'll see I actually do have page breaks in here, and you absolutely can and should use them. I'm going to show you why you need them in a little bit as well. So if we go to the end here, yeah, here's a page break, and I'll show you why in a minute why we're going to do page breaks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat this just for the sake of time. I'm going to add the discussion questions for this one. I think it was a story to die for is what we were doing. Yeah. So I'm going to add the discussion questions. So we'll at least have 3 of these under our belt. But the process that I'm doing now is exactly the process I would do with all 7. It's the process I would do with poetry. It really would be the same in every case. And I got to grab the bottom part and move this over so the formatting matches correctly. There we go. Again, I could have clicked on this bottom one and done a paint formatting. That would have worked fine as well. I'm going to highlight the rest of this just so that I know what I've done, what I haven't done. Here we go. So let's just go up here. So now we've got a quicker way from, yeah, there is a quicker way from here, but I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this in yellow just so that I know what I didn't do with this magazine. This is not just for demonstration purposes. This is really what I would do normally, because you'll certainly have times where you'll think to yourself, I'm just going to come back to that later. I need to figure out that author's name. I need to figure out what I'm going to write, what my
something. There's something you're going to want to figure out. And so just, I will highlight it in yellow, and that'll be my reminder to like get to it later. Okay, so I think I've done 3 of these. That gives me gray lines, SAT, and a story to die for. All right, so the ones that are not in yellow, I've done in my practice here. And the ones that are in yellow, I really did. Well, of course, now I need to fix my my template, my table of contents. So I'm going to update this field, and it automatically fixes my page numbers. But you'll notice one of the issues I'm having here is I've got these headers at the top, and I've got these footers at the bottom, and they don't match what they should match, right? So I would normally go through and change this. I don't have them for this guy yet because I don't know his name. But normally I'd go in and retype this. I do know that it's not the 6th issue anymore. It's now the 7th issue. And it's now July. So I'm going to change those. I do that per section. You're absolutely right. So I'm going to change them on a few of these. And see, now that I've done one here, now it's continuing it for the section. And so they're all the same. And now we're going to get to the next part. And because it's a section break, those headers and footers have reset. So I've got to go fix this guy. This was our old author, was, what is that? As saying something, something. But now it's John Oakes, a good simple name to write and spell. I copy and paste that so I don't have to retype it each time. I also have to go back and fix these again, because remember, every time you have a new section break, it treats it like a new section. And then it continues the numbering. Yep. It's continuing the numbering. So what I did here for the numbering is I inserted you insert under the header and footer, you can insert page numbers, and it'll run the numbering for you. So we've got John Oakes at the top here because it's already corrected it. I've got July, I've got John Oakes. So far, we're looking good on this one. Let me just make sure there's no mistakes. It says the 7th month, so I've got the right issue. All right, and so now here, as we did before, we have a page break. And so when I go to the show hide, again, this is in Word, you can see the section break. And because there's a section break, it resets the headers and footers. And so I've got to redo this again. So if I had Barry Fields' name, again, this author, I'd have to go dig up his name from his email, but I would change that, right? I still need to change the bottom. So it looks like I've got 6, 7 here, 6, 7 here. All right, so I think we're in good shape here. All right, so I'm just going to do this a lazy way and do a Control F and look for the word June. And every time I see the word June, I'm going to put in the word July. And I got to this section just by hitting Control F. Because I think I've definitely had magazines where like one part had the wrong month. I'm assuming that there's not another use of the word June anywhere in the magazine. I could do a replace all. And later you'll see me do a replace all. Also for number 6, I'm going to do a find for that as well. And every time I see this 6, I'm going to swap it with a 7. Because I've definitely had instances where I missed one of these and it did not go well. All right, so that's all of them. There are no more June 6th. So now I have most of my magazine done, except for the parts in yellow, which we didn't do. In this case, we have at the end of the magazine, the authors, because of course you want to give the authors some credit, right? So this first author one is actually for Gray Lines. Okay, come on. There you go. Gray Lines. This next one was for SAT. I'm just reading these off of the left here. That's how I know what they are, not from memory. A story to die for. And these I would normally go and change, but because I'm not changing them, I'm going to highlight them in yellow to remind myself later to go back and fix them. So I've got to get these authors in here. I, once again, cheated this and pulled their author information. So I'm going to copy and paste them in. Oh, look, I've actually got their names now too. That would be nice. There we go. There's one of them. There's another one, John Oakes. And looks like our last bio I got was for Travis Lewis. There we go. And as long as I've got these authors' names, I might as well give them credit. So I'm going to copy and paste this, or not. E-M-E-C-H-E-T-A-C-H-M. Christian, there we go. All right, so now our authors actually got credit for their work. Let's go to the other one. What is this? John Oakes. So we've got, so it's Travis Lewis was the one I didn't have for A Story to Die For. Let me paste him in. There we go. That one for some reason did paste correctly. And, you know, just to be thorough, I'm going to go ahead and fix our headers here and give these guys credit where credit is due. Travis Lewis. There we go. Copy and paste that. Now I've got to fix it in these other ones. Yeah, now it's corrected them all because it's a new section. For gray lines, I've got to, oh man, that's a heck of a name. E-M-E-C-H-E-T-A-C-H-R-I-S-T-I-N. All right, I definitely don't want to type that again, so I'm going to copy and paste that up here. And now it should carry to the other ones. Yeah, it does, because our section breaks. And we've now got the beginnings of our magazine. We're not nearly done. Don't feel like this is the end of the story here. It is not. But what it is these first three that I've copy and pasted, they're done. The from the editor is done. The author information is half done. I've already changed my opening page to include the right information. So I could just go and do these other four, but for the sake of time, I'm going to treat this a little bit like a cooking show and not use that time. But I still need a cover. I'm going to zoom out a bit here. I still do need a cover. There are lots of ways you can do covers. You can do them in Canva. You can do them in Photoshop. You can do them in Word. I literally have done covers in Word before and just save them. We're now at a point where I have someone make our covers for us, but you don't have to. And then you have to somehow put this into a document, right? Whether you're using InDesign, in my case, I'm using Word. So I'm going to go Pictures, this device. I'm going to go find my cover for July. That's my June cover. Do I have my source material? There's my July cover. All right, so I've got a cover, but of course it doesn't quite fit right here. So I've got to change the layout. So it's going to be in front of text. This way it can fill the whole page. Just going to drag it over here and have it fill the whole thing. Now I know from experience that my eyes aren't good enough to see if I really did that correctly. So I'm going to just check this. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, that matches up pretty good on the top left. Matches up on the right. Oops. See, it didn't match up on the bottom. I knew not to trust myself. So I'm just going to grab this and drag it down a little bit. And now, when I zoom back out, I have the beginnings of a magazine. I'm not done yet, but I have something that I could print on a home printer and read and call it a magazine. So some of the people that are digital subscribers, because we do have digital and print subscribers, this is partially what they get. They get a PDF they can print or read at home, which is great if you're printing because it keeps the formatting really nice. So I'm going to go to File, Save As a PDF. And it's an odd thing about the way that they do these that I did not know. So you'll need to go to More Options, and then under Options, and you need to set PDF options to PDF A compliant. This will be relevant later. If this box isn't normally checked by default, you need to check it. And I'll explain why in a little bit. And so now I'm going to save this. Let me make sure I'm saving it in the right folder. I am. Okay, so now I've got a PDF of what I just created. For some of our subscribers, this is one of the things they'll get because they just, they want a PDF they can print on their home printer. They like to read a paper copy, but they have a digital subscription, which is totally fine. And this is, in fact, I'm going to save this as well. And so this is our starting point of how we get this going. But if you've ever used an e-reader, you know it auto-paginates and fixes the things. That's because it's using an EPUB file, which is basically a special file format that that says, look, I don't care if you're on a phone or on an e-reader, on a tablet or on a laptop, like make the formatting work. So I need to get this to a different formatting style, which is an EPUB format. The way I do this, although there's other ways you can do it, and I should mention this, if you talk to 10 different people who run literary magazines, you would get 10 different ways that they create their literary magazine. I'm by no means saying that like this is the right way. I'm just saying this is one of the ways, and it happens to be the way I do it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to use here is a program called Draft to Digital, and you'll see why I'm using this here pretty shortly. It allows me to convert everything to an EPUB file. Okay, so here's all the various ones I've done in the past. I'm going to go to my very last one here. Actually, I'm going to go one from the last because I've already really done my July magazine. And so here's my June magazine. I'm going to click on it because, again, I'm being lazy. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to go to, here are all the places that when you publish something on Draft to Digital, it shows up. It shows up in Hoopla, which if you use a library card, you can get into the library. It shows up in Barnes & Noble's ebook reader software, Roku, which is what they use in Europe, Apple Books, Overdrive, which is an ebook one. Everywhere you can get an ebook, this book will now show up that I published, which is what we're doing right now. Like this is what you'll have when you're done. So here is the one I did for June for the previous month. That's coming up. While it's coming up, I'm going to bring up another version, another tab of Draft to Digital, because that's going to allow me to do more copy and pasting and less reinventing the wheel. So on my new one here, I'm just going to hit Add New Book. And it's like, okay, you want to do a new book. Cool. We're happy for you. Best wishes. I'm still loading my other book. You know why? It's because we've got 1 million people here that are crushing the internet. Here we go. Okay, so here's my old book I've already done. And it's going to want me to do my metadata. Metadata is how it becomes searchable by people who are interested in books. So for my new book, I'm going to click Start eBook. Cool. Got my new ebook. It's going to come up. And I'm going to take that Word document that I just created, and I'm going to put it into Draft to Digital. It's going to then publish to all these platforms, and it's going to give me a EPUB file I can download and use on my own time. And it says, do you have cover art? Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I will give you my cover art. My July Fan Fusion cover art. Here, oh, wait a minute. Fan Fusion source material. There's my cover. So that way, when people are scrolling through, they'll be able to see what it looks like. You know, the sort of cover that you see when you're on Barnes & Noble's website. They want to know the book title. Okay. You can give it any title you want. Is it a part of a series? In this case, it is. It's a part of my After Dinner Conversation magazine series. Who are the authors' names? Yeah, you probably, be kind to authors. They probably want to know. I'm going to do this as 61A so that I don't inadvertently do it. But I've got some author names that I need to put in here. So let me do that. So let me pull up that document that I created earlier and get those authors' names. And again, I'll just do it with the first 3 for the sake of time, but you would want to do it for all of them. Where is it? There's my PDF I just saved, but here's the old one. So let me pull up that. And let's see, I think under author information, I had their names here. Yeah. So the first one is something I can't pronounce. And let me go to my new material, and I'm going to add a new author. And there we go. There's my new author. Make sure there's no weird spaces here. Cool. There's one author. Here's John Oakes. Great. Good for him. Happy for you, Mr. Oakes. Congratulations on being published. And we'll do one more. Like I said, we're just doing 3 here for the sake of time, but I would normally do this with all of them. If you've previously published an author, you can just select their name from the dropdown as well. And then search terms. So this is what people would see when they're trying to find your book in Barnes & Noble or whatever. I'm going to do this as a literary magazine clever. Science fiction, short story. This is essentially what I'm doing would be SEO. I'm doing sort of a cheated version of this. You can see on my other one that I did, where I actually did quite a few good ones. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to do a few here. Fan Fusion sample. And this is how people search it and find it. Okay, so is my material appropriate for minors or inappropriate for minors? No, minors are fine with this. Then it's going to ask me, what are the categories? This is sort of your card catalog. And you have to pick one. So if it's, I can't say that it's, oh, it's in nonfiction and fiction. You know, you have to pick a lane, right? So I'm going to say it's in fiction. And I'm going to be like, oh, it is an anthology with multiple authors. It's dystopian, sure. I think I can do 5 of these. It's literary. I don't know, maybe it's magical realism. And it's philosophical. All right, so these are the main sort of categories that it'll be in. These are the SEO above it. I hit start my ebook. Volume number. Oh, enter in a valid number. It's not going to let me cheat it. All right, I'm going to do one that's so high up that I'll never use it. There we go. Okay, so now it wants my manuscript. It wants the actual like Word document that we just created. That makes sense. So I'm going to go to that and get the Word document that we created, not the PDF, but the Word document. And I'm going to upload that. And it also wants to know a release date. I'm going to set this release date for, I don't know, we'll say July 1st. And now it wants the description. This is sort of the book description that people will see. Let me close that out. I don't need that anymore. The book description that people will see. Oh, let me use this one. I'll just copy and paste from my old one. Here we go. So I've typed this all up before. And let me give it all in my description, right? Of course, now it's not June anymore, it's July. And these are not correct, right? I got to go through and fix these to have the right ones. Let me just, again, I'll do it. I'll cheat and do 3 of them, but I won't do the other ones. So it's Gray Lines, SAT, and A Story to Die For. All right. And now I would need to, of course, add a little description so people know, you know, what the short stories are about. I didn't pre-type this, so I'm just going to say stuff and things. And the other ones, since we didn't change them, we're just going to leave them like they are. I can always go back and edit this later. This is not a one and done sort of thing with the ebook version. With the print version, it can sometimes be. They want a little more description here. Okay, we'll give them a little more description. And now they want to know who worked on the book. Okay, fair enough. Well, After Dinner Conversation worked on the book. They're the publisher. I worked on the book because I'm sitting here working on it right now. Where is it? Holy. So I'm the, we'll call me the editor-in-chief. Editor? Sure, a managing editor. There we go. Who else do we normally have here? Oh, we've got our art guy who did our great art that you just saw, Sean. And you can see there's lots of different options here. Sometimes there are options you need and don't have. You know, sometimes it just works out that way. And we'll give Kate credit for being our copy editor. She's pretty amazing. There you go. So there's some of our main people. Now, they're going to assign me an ISBN number. I don't need to buy one. The difference is if they assign me an ISBN number, then it'll say the ISBN number, blah, 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 blah. It's owned by Draft to Digital. They don't own the book. It just shows that I got the ISBN through them. If I want to have my own ISBN number, I absolutely can. I go to a website called Bowker, Bowker, and you can buy them, and then I could just type in my ISBN number. But ebooks don't have ISBN numbers. That's not a real thing. Only print books do for the most part. Ebooks can, but they are not required to. I should be more careful in my words. So I'm going to save and continue. I cannot. Each version needs to have its own ISBN number. That's true of all books. So it shows me all of my chapter layouts for the ebook. I'm going to save and continue. And give me 1 sec. Well, this is much slower internet here than it was yesterday. Okay, and so now what it's going to do is it's going to convert my Word document into an ebook. And you'll notice it messes up all the formatting. That is absolutely to be expected. I'm going to use the Deco one. That's the one that I like. Because what the Deco one does is it turns all of my 3 dots into these nice little dashes that show up on an ebook. But I could pick other formats and it would show up differently. I've just sort of committed to the Deco format. I'm going to download their Mobi file as well as their EPUB file. That's the ebook versions of the files. And then I'm going to continue. And so now it's going to want me to set a price because, you know, people are going to want to buy this on Barnes & Noble or Apple or wherever. And I'm going to set a price for $2.99. Oh, not $2,099. That'd be a heck of an ebook. $2.99. I'm going to leave Amazon unchecked because I'm going to do the Amazon book separately. And I am literally, and this is the one for how libraries get it. And then I hit submit. I am done. I have now created something that if I hit submit in about a day, you would be able to go to the Barnes & Noble app or the Apple app and download and buy. I'm not going to hit submit because I don't want this one to be up there with half the stuff right and wrong. Now, one of the things I did here is you'll notice I said I downloaded the EPUB and the Mobi file. There's a reason I did that because I'm going to need those for Amazon. So let me go back to my other thing here. Open a new window, go to my stories again, magazines, FanFusion. So now we've got our digital formats for e-readers. Drag these over. This internet is, whew. Okay, but I'm going to change the name just so that I'm sure I've got these correct. So now when somebody says, oh, I want to subscribe to your digital magazine, what I will send them, and we have 400 or 500 subscribers that do this, I will send them the PDF, the Mobi, and the EPUB. And if they email that EPUB to their reader of any kind, it will show up in their reader as a regular book with a cover like the one we just created. But let's do the Amazon one while we're sitting here. So I am done with Draft to Digital for now. And let me go into Amazon and make it available on Amazon. So Amazon has a self-publishing thing here. You create an account just like you normally would. And you go through the exact same process. So here's the one I did the previous month. I'm going to look at it because, again, I'm going to cheat the system here a little bit and copy and paste where I can. And now Amazon is going to say, oh, do you want to make a book? I'm like, I sure do. Create a book. Oh, it's not going to let me return to bookshelf. This one's about to be published, so it won't. It's going to come out on the 10th, so it won't let me look at it because it's coming out on the 10th. So here, you know what I'll do? I will walk you through what I did for the July issue, since it won't let me do this. So same as we did on Draft to Digital, it's all very similar. The book title, yep, I've got a title. The subtitle, yes, I type in the subtitle. Add it to the series. So I click Edit Series Details. And I would add it to the series. It's book number 61. Just like before, I add the authors. And I would just copy and paste them just like we did from Draft to Digital. And if I want to add more, I just hit Add Another. If I don't want to add more, I hit Remove. And so if I've got 10 authors or 20 authors or whatever, it doesn't matter. Nope, this is for the Amazon ebook edition. Great question. And then I've got the same text here, just like I had for Draft to Digital. I just copy and pasted it in. Is there any weird, crazy sex stuff? No. What's the age? 15 and up works. I have to set my categories just like I did on Draft to Digital. Unlike Draft to Digital, Amazon will let you set your categories in anything. So I can say, oh, I want literature and fiction. I want it to be an action adventure, and it's men's adventure. I don't even know what men's adventure is, but literary fiction. We're going to say it's short stories. Cool. What else is it? It's contemporary fiction. Okay, that works. Yeah, contemporary works. Let's add another category here. What else can we add? That's 2 out of 3 I've got. Yeah, we'll add, I don't know, women's fiction. So they'll give me 3 categories I can do. I'm not going to save that because I like the categories I picked, which was literary fiction, short stories, contemporary fiction, short stories, and anthologies and collections. So just like in Draft to Digital, they want to know your sort of SEO keywords. And so I did. I just gave them a whole bunch of SEO keywords for what this contains. Theft, capitalism, stealing, boss, Robin Hood ethics, et cetera, et cetera. Wants to know when the release date is. The release date is on July 10th. But I could set it to whatever I wanted. I will say that it locks it down like a day or 2 before the release date. So if I change my mind on July 9th, I can't edit it. But once it comes out on July 10th, I can continue to just update the file, and it does not care. Save and continue. And now it wants me to upload a manuscript. So in this case, I'm not going to upload my Word document. I could, but the formatting gets messed up with Amazon. What I am going to do is I'm going to upload the one I just created as an EPUB file. Right here, this EPUB file. So I would hit upload, and it would upload it. I've already done that. It's processed it. And it says, oh, you have a cover? Give me your cover. So same as we did on Draft to Digital. I pick the cover. I upload the cover. And then it says, hey, you sure how this is looking? So I'm going to launch a previewer here. Yeah, I know. And see how this looks? I uploaded the EPUB file for the interior. For the interior. Yep. Which I got from Draft to Digital as a download once I uploaded the Word document. So the Word document goes to Draft to Digital. They then convert it to an EPUB. I download the EPUB and then upload the EPUB to Amazon. The Mobi is a sort of a format that some sort of retired versions use. So some people's private readers use them, but Amazon doesn't use that format anymore. You remember how I said that it was going to mess up the formatting? So this is what it looks like on a tablet. But here's the thing is like, it could be on a phone, somebody's going to read it. And so it has to have the formatting in a way that it works on a phone. And it's got to have the formatting in a way that works on an e-reader. And so this is why your formatting options are a little bit limited, because it's going to always repaginate based on the size of the document. I can skip all the way to the end and see what the end of this looks like. And again, you're like, well, that doesn't look very good. Well, it's because it's going to be on different formats. On a phone, it looks even different, right? And so you're always at the mercy with e-readers of what the formatting is of the thing you're working with. Okay, but now I know I like it. I've checked it all over. And I can skip this part about the ISBN. I actually copy and pasted this ISBN. This is the ISBN that Drafted Digital gave me for my ebook. I'm also using it in Amazon. It doesn't really matter. You can leave it blank. They won't even give you one. No. They'll give you a print ISBN, but not an ebook ISBN. Yeah, no, they don't even assign you one because ebooks generally don't have ISBNs. They're not required to. Books are required to. Print books are. Amazon will give you an ISBN for your print version, but not for their ebook. Okay, so it says accessibility features. You know, am I using alt text so that if somebody is sight impaired or something? I don't know if I am or not, so I just leave it blank. That's a brand new thing they just added like a week ago, so I'm going to have to start adding alt text to all of my text. Okay, so now I've moved on. It says, where do you want to release it? Oh, I definitely want to release it in all my territories. It says, do you want it to be enrolled in KDP? KDP is an interesting thing that Amazon does where basically it's like Netflix for reading. Somebody signs up and pays like 20 bucks a month and they get unlimited reading of every book that's in the KDP catalog. And Amazon will count the number of pages people read on their $20 thing, and they'll divide up the $20 by the page reads. So if somebody reads your book and you've got, let's say, 100,000 page reads, you get that percentage of the KDP money. If you've got 10 page reads, you get 10 out of, a billion page reads percentage of the money. So people that have really heavy reading habits, like a lot of romance books, use KDP because they're very fast reading and people read, 100 pages a day easily. I don't, but you could. So I want it to be released in all territories. I want to set a price. Amazon will tell you, like, look, if the price is below $2.99, you get 35%. If it's between 99 cents and $200, you get 35%. If you make your ebook over $2.99, then you can click the 70% button and you can get 70% of it. So this means that when somebody buys my ebook on Amazon or the magazine on Amazon, I pay a 5% delivery charge for them sending them the megabytes. Amazon keeps a cut, and I get $2.06 out of $2.99 for every time I sell it. And then all I do at the end, so it's going to release in every country. You can see this here. I can adjust these countries if I want. If I wanted Italy to be 3.50 euros, I could. And it would automatically recalculate my 70%. And then all I would do here was just hit submit to pre-order. I have now made this book available on Amazon. And if I go, since I already have submitted this book to Amazon, I can show you what it looks like on Amazon. And it will show up just as a regular ebook on Amazon. Right now, it's showing up as a pre-release, pre-order if you want. This will come out July 10th. You can see here is all the data I put in here. You saw I put that in the box originally. Here's the authors' names I put in. If the authors are already on Amazon, this will link to their author account. So you can see what else they've published, which is kind of cool. You can see if it's a series, you can see the other books in the series. You can see this is the 61st one I've put in the series. And later when it sells, you'll be able to see how it does and people can do reviews. And look, this looks like this author doesn't have anything that's ever been published before. Okay, so last step, and we're going to do this one relatively quickly because it is not complicated, is how to turn it into a print book. To turn it into a print book, you're going to need a separate version of this. So I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to call it a paperback version. And now I'm working on a separate one. And there are some things that I know don't work on paperbacks. Hyperlinks don't work on paperbacks, right? This artwork isn't going to work on a paperback because this is not the cover of the book. This is the cover of the interior of the book. So that would be weird. So I'm going to get rid of all of these, and I'm just going to turn them into italics. And I've got this whole book pretty well done. I need to fix a few things here. One of the things I would need to fix is what if, and I don't know if this happened here, but I'll just show you an example. So let's say that this is a hanging thing here. I'm going to mess up my document. So let's say it's hanging like right here. That looks a little bit weird to have a book where it's hanging. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go through and highlight a little bit before it, right mouse click, go to paragraph, and I'm going to change the spacing to 1.30. And now it shrunk it a little bit. And it didn't quite shrink it enough though. So I'm going to grab a little bit more and shrink it to 1.30, but I'm going to do more of it. And so you see what I'm doing is I'm slowly getting it so that you don't have these weird hanging things. What the final book looks like is this. July. Paperback. Here we go. So now I've got the whole July paperback. I put in the interior part here. I've gotten rid of my hyperlinks. I've gotten rid of any of my hanging information. And this is the interior of the book that's coming out in July. And this won't have any weird paging issues because obviously it's going to print exactly like you see it. Of course, you need to get the formatting correctly. So the way you do that is go to Layout, Margins, Custom Margins, and you can set the margins because obviously a thicker book and a thinner book has different margins. And I'm going to save it as a PDF again. This time I'm going to save as a print PDF. There's a reason I'm doing that, and I will show you why. Here's what the finished print PDF looks like. I'm going to upload this PDF exactly like it is, and it's going to print exactly what I see, right? So if there is something that doesn't work, and you'll notice the way I've done the margins here, there's more space on the left here and less on the right. That's because when you open the book, you're not having to look in the crack. But then on the next page, it alternates. There's more on the right and less on the left because it's the various side. The only other thing I'm still missing here is a cover. And that's where we'll finish up this last little bit here. And that is, I'm just going to take a cover. And I'm going to find my sort of spacing for it based on the number of page numbers. So at 100 pages, Amazon tells me my 6x9 book needs to be 12.5 by 9.25 inches. I can make this opaque and sort of make it fit. I can kind of move it around to like figure out where it's supposed to fit the book correctly. Undo my opacity, raise it back up, and there's my book. And so now I'm going to save this as a PDF or as a JPEG. I could save it for either. And I'm going to have my cover, which is right there. All right, it's a 212 meg file. And now I've got the interior and I've got the exterior. I'm going to go back into Amazon, and this will be the last thing I do here. And I'm going to go to my books, continue without saving. And I'm going to create the paperback version of my book. And it works just like the print version, or just like the digital version. Except now, because it's got the digital version, it's converted all of that information over. I don't have to retype any of it. The only thing I have to do is repick my categories, but all this carries over automatically. Change my release date if I want. And then all I do is just upload that PDF of the interior and the PDF of the exterior. Or I have to pick the color. I want black and white interior with cream paper, 6x9 inch book, no bleed, matte finish. upload the manuscript, which is that PDF of the interior I created, upload the cover, which is the PDF or the JPEG of the cover I created. And then I just want to look at it. Like, does it look right? And what this is going to pull up is the print version of this. This is on Amazon. And it would work, this is, I'm running out of time, it would work the exact same way on Draft to Digital. I would just upload the PDF of the exterior, upload the PDF of the interior for a print book. And then if you went to your local indie bookstore and said, I want to buy After Dinner Conversation, July issue, they would pull it up on their computer and they'd be like, yeah, we can order that for you. It'll be here in 3 to 5 days or 7 to 10 days, right? And so they'd order it through Draft to Digital, which has a relationship with Ingram Spark. Or if you ordered it on Amazon, Amazon would do it as a print on demand, and you would get it in 7 to 10 days. That's how these came. I literally ordered them on Amazon. And so I can like zoom in and be like, okay, did I get the margins right? Did I get everything right? Here's my things. It looks good. Let me just take a quick look here. It looks good. If it doesn't, I would just go back and fix it and resave it as a PDF. I would approve it. And then just like the ebook, I would set the price. In this case, I'm going to set the price a little bit higher because there's printing costs. So Amazon pays me, 70% of the profit after it printed it. So in this case, it's going to be $12.95. I'm going to set the print cost. And of that, the printing is cost $2.30. So Amazon keeps that off the top. And they give me 60% of what remains. And so I make $5.47 per print book someone buys on Amazon. I scroll down. I can again change it from different countries. I hit publish, and it is done, and I have published. You have now watched, in a very abbreviated fashion, an ebook, a print book that literally you could go to a library and get as a digital library through Hoopla or Overdrive. You could get it through any app, Barnes & Noble, or whatever. They even show up on Walmart.com. I had no idea until I saw it. You could order the print book through your local bookstore, or you could order the print book through Amazon as well, or the ebook through Amazon. The one thing I will show you, and I know I'm saying one more thing, but I'm going to show you one more thing. Just in the last month or two, Amazon has started doing audiobooks in a relationship with Audible, so that once the ebook is live, you just click a button that says convert to audiobook, and you can pick the AI voice, and then your book will be available as an audiobook on Audible with the AI voice of your choosing, and I sell it there for like $5.99. I can hear it. Oh, so your question, so people can hear it, is how do you know if AI is pronouncing the words correctly? When you go into the audiobook editor, you can find the words that you're worried about and give it a phonetic pronunciation and hear it. So you can actually go and sort of fix its silliness for names and individual words. It takes time, but you absolutely can do it. All right, I'm going to turn this off now, and then I'm going to take questions if you guys have some afterwards, okay? Thank you.